We've seen the triumphant return of Daniel Ricciardo this week in Formula One, and it's been good to have him back, lighting up the timesheets. He's also been the focus of some news for the wrong reasons. A lot of it stems from an appearance on a little video that he guested on to promote something. Who cares? Doesn't matter what it was for.
Think women are good drivers?
Good is subjective, but yes.
Yes, you do. It's offensive, isn't it? The stereotype that women are not good drivers, it's hurtful.
Yeah.
Because you look at the stats, if you look at the facts, please.
Yeah, I'm listening.
In the history of Formula One, tell me the number of accidents on the racetrack that have been caused by female drivers.
Probably none.
Why is that?
There has been little to no female F1 drivers.
Why is that?
Because there's 20 of us in the world.
We were going to surprise you today with a female driver.
Oh, really?
She had an accident. She's okay though, she's fine. But she just couldn't make it.
Hilarious stuff. Just hilarious. This is obviously like a bit of a comedy interview, and the whole point, I guess, was to make Daniel uncomfortable, which gets him laughing and smiling. The criticism and the blowback was, this guy's making jokes about how women are bad drivers. Why are you laughing at that? What is funny about that? What? Why? You also notice that Daniel gets asked, why aren't there any women driving in Formula One? And he says something like, there's only 20 of us. There's only 20 of us. I'll expand on that in a minute, but just remember that. And you're probably thinking, oh, Rod, this is unfair. This was a comedy video, first of all, so it was just jokes. It was just jokes. But also that's like one clip, so you've taken that out of context. Well, after seeing that, I actually did go and try and find the whole video. And there's more. It's not just the laughing at the women can't drive joke. There's also this.
Do you know a lot about cars? Like specifically about cars? Do you know anything about the transmission?
A little bit, maybe.
Can you explain it to me? What do they want?
What do they want? What? Who's they?
The trans.
Do you know about the transmission? What do they want? Who? The trans people. What the trans people want. I mean, just hilarious stuff. So unfortunately, I feel like with Daniel, there's this flip side of the coin. Because there's the side that everyone loves. There's the side of Daniel who is goofy and funny and out there and willing to take the piss out of himself and others. And then there's the flip side. Then there's the side that's like too loose, too unhinged, just a bit too much. You know, there's people who are sort of always on, or people who are just like, they just lose themselves in themselves a bit. And I don't know if part of it is because Daniel was out of the sport for a while or what, but I mean, this is not exactly a new thing either, I guess. And I just don't know what people think about that. But the discourse online after that clip was going around went along the lines of, why the hell is Daniel laughing at jokes about women can't drive, etc., etc.? This is part of Formula One sexist problem. The woke opinion, you might say. Then there was the blowback against that. Oh my God, this guy's joking. Oh my God, you can't take a joke. Please try and get some cope. Please toughen up. So, I mean, where to from here is my question. Where to from here? That clip that I played was from a thread, a bit of a thread on the Bad website, on the Bad Bird website. Formerly the Bad Bird website, I should say. In the replies was this clip, which I also found, and it expands on the point that Daniel made before about why there aren't women in Formula One. So I'll pull this up. It's just horrible stuff. I think this is in the video. I don't think we can blame Elon Musk for this one, but it says here, Ricciardo talking about women in motorsport. This was a promoted post as far as I can understand. LinkedIn News Australia. He's wearing a Yes, this is Optus, for which he is an ambassador, talking about why there aren't women in motorsport, or just generally about the topic of women in motorsport. So he's coming back to this idea of there's only so many seats. So let's just listen to what he says.
Simply putting it, there's 20 drivers on the grid. So it's such a small number. And if a large percentage of that number kind of funneling in is males, then obviously it's just a percentage game. It's really starting at like the grassroots, whether it's go-karting. It's really trying to encourage women to get into it from an early age, so that therefore there is obviously larger volumes and more opportunity for them to then keep moving their way up the top and obviously do it successfully.
Why aren't there women in Formula One? Well, there's so few seats and there's so many people fighting for them. People like me and, the woke mafia online say, well, are you sure it's not because Formula One has a sexism problem? You sure it's not run by sexists? Bunch of blokes trying to keep it all blokey. Kind of bunch of blokes who look at women as objects for their own sexual desire rather than potential competitors in races, people worthy of your respect and consideration. And they go, no. It's because of the funnel. Because there's hundreds and thousands of people trying to funnel into Formula One, and they're all men. If there were more women doing that, that would solve the problem. Well, I just disagree. I just disagree. Number one, why would women want to get into that funnel? We'll go through some of this. Some of the recent and historical attitudes towards women that men throughout Formula One have, drivers, team organizers, sport organizers, and the media. Why would women even want to get into this sport? But number two, even if they did, Formula One still has a sexism problem, and women are seen, like they're barely seen as humans. They're really seen as just sexual objects. Driving is for guys, and the women are there to be part of the show and to be looked at. Still, when people say, are you sure it's not because of that sexism problem? People say, no, it's the funnel. So I guess Formula One doesn't have a sexism problem then. Well, we're about to run through about a gajillion examples of Formula One sexism problems, starting with this clip of Sebastian Vettel, a very enlightened discussion about grid girls.
Why didn't we have any grid girls today?
No idea. Many congratulations.
You go there, you park behind George or Dave. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, why didn't we have grid girls? Why did we have grid boys today? You got to park behind George or Dave. What the hell? Why even drive in Formula One if you don't get to have a grid girl standing next to your car? That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Someone literally said, it's great that people see women's role in Formula One holding up a number, something that could have been achieved by just some sticky tape and a concrete block. One of everyone's greatest hits, this is Sergio Perez. This coincides with Susie Wolff doing a Formula One, making an F1 appearance for the first time in 22 years. Chico gets asked what he thinks about women in Formula One.
Habrá una mujer por primera vez en 22 años en la Fórmula 1. ¿Qué te parece?
Sí, Susi, un gran piloto y bueno, demostrando, ¿no?, que las mujeres también pueden estar en este mundo tan difícil y bueno, ojalá y...
He basically says, I wish her well.
Y le puede ir bien. También es difícil juzgar el trabajo en una práctica. No conoce el coche, estos coches son muy difíciles de manejar.
He also says it's difficult to judge from one practice session how good she will do. She doesn't know the car. The cars are really difficult to drive. Silverstone is a tricky circuit. We can't expect great things from her. My question would be why? Why can't we expect great things from her? Why shouldn't we? Basically prejudging her ability because she's a woman.
Silverstone, un circuito complicado, entonces no esperemos grandes cosas de ella.
¿Te gustaría tener una...
She asks, would you like to have a female teammate? And admittedly, she baits him a little bit by saying, we are really complex, because she's a female, obviously. Would you like to have a female teammate?
Compañera mujer, que somos muy complicadas.
No, imagínate donde te gana una mujer, ahí sí ya es el colmo. Entonces, mejor que se vaya a la cocina.
So he says, no, imagine that. Imagine a woman could beat you. That's the last straw. She would be better in the kitchen than with cars, says Sergio Perez. He apologized for that. And people gave him a hard time for it, and Susie Wolff insisted that people cut him some slack, that he was joking, and she didn't take it personally, but too bad. I took it personally. Another great one here. Sir Sterling Moss. Women lack the mental aptitude to compete in Formula One. The mental stress, I think, would be pretty difficult for a lady. I completely disagree, says development driver Susie Wolff. Sir Sterling Moss says he is not surprised. There are no women drivers in Formula One. He believes they do not have the mental strength to compete. This from a fucking 83-year-old man. I think they have the strength, but I don't know if they've got the mental aptitude to race hard, wheel to wheel. The trouble is, when you're racing, it's pretty tiring, says Moss, a 16-time Formula One race winner. He just said that they have the physical strength to do it, but anyway. We had 3-hour races in those days. You need tremendous concentration. Now races are only around 1 hour and 10 minutes. Well, isn't that all the more fucking reason that women could do it? You stupid, stupid old man. This is what Susie Wolf said at the time. I completely disagree with him. It makes me cringe hearing that, she said. I've got a lot of respect for Sterling Moss and what he's achieved, but I think we're in a different generation. Well, you may well be in a different generation, but things just have not changed very much. This is from earlier this year. Sky Italia suspends F1 commentators after sexist remarks on air. Matteo Bobbi and David Valsecchi made remarks about women in the background during Spanish Grand Prix analysis. 2 Sky Sports commentators have been suspended after a series of sexist remarks during an on-air post-race analysis of the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix on Sunday. During live television, they're on television. They know they're on television. It couldn't be more obvious, and they say this shit. Made sexist comments about a woman in the background around the paddock, with Bobby referring to her as an upgrade package, inviting Valsecchi to look behind him. Valsecchi turned to look at the woman and then replied, "I know, but they told me I can't test them, so I raised my hands." The comments visibly embarrassed the Sky Sports journalist Federica Massillon, who stood alongside Valsecchi, as another journalist in the studio urged the pair to be careful. Good stuff. We must be done. Oh no, we're not done. I covered the recent appearance of Brad Pitt at the Formula One races. My coverage included things like, what is he doing there? What's he making? What are the details? This is an account called Females at Motorsport on the bad website x.com, calling out Joe Sayward. It's articles like these why women still have to fight day in, day out for their place in F1. This is a clip from one of Joe Sayward 5000's articles, The Big News for Females in F1, of which these days there are a large number, was that Brad Pitt was wandering around. He looks good for a 58-year-old man. Because that's what women would be interested in, is looking at Brad Pitt. Formula One boss's cranky sexism, female drivers are a joke. Formula One boss Bernie Ecclestone broke both of these golden rules. Rule number 1 being, if you're the head honcho of a sport with global appeal, don't insult half of the world's population, that is women. Rule number 2, if you're going to belittle women, don't do it on the day a former competitor launches a campaign empowering females to get more involved in your sport. Bernie Ecclestone broke both of those rules when he all but dismissed the possibility of female drivers taking part in a Grand Prix. Speaking to Canadian TV network TSN, the 85-year-old said women should not expect to line up on an F1 grid anytime soon because they wouldn't be taken seriously. I doubt it. If there was somebody that was capable, they wouldn't be taken seriously anyway. So they would never have a car that is capable of competing, said Ecclestone. There was a girl that was driving in GP3 for a whole season. So it's not something that hasn't happened. When asked if a woman would ever compete in the main event, he replied, "No, I don't think so. These are just the ones I could find." Female team boss Claire Williams reveals disgraceful sexism in Formula One. Claire Williams has taken aim at accusations from within Formula One's male-dominated world that becoming a mother has contributed to her team's decline. In a powerful and candid interview ahead of the new season, the de facto boss of one of the sport's most successful teams hinted at an undercurrent of sexism in the sport. The 43-year-old assumed the day-to-day running of the team from her father. She gave birth to her first child, Nate, in October 2017. Then she says, "As soon as you're not successful, some people put that down to the fact that I am a woman," Williams told the PA news agency. "I've actually had someone say to me that a lot of people in the Formula One paddock think that the team started doing badly when I fell pregnant and had a baby. How dare they," she says. There are 9 other team principals in F1, and I'm sure the majority of them have children. Would you ever level that criticism at them? Am I not allowed to have a child because I'm a woman running a Formula One team? It is a disgraceful attitude and a very 19th century attitude. I work 7 days a week, pretty much all year round. The fact that Williams are not doing well at the moment is not because I have a child. Unreal stuff. Suggests that because Claire Williams is a woman and she got pregnant, that's why the team was not doing well. This is from a while ago, a long time ago. 2005, F1 driver told to Button lip after sexist tirade. In an extraordinary interview, Button dismissed the prospects of Danica Patrick, an American racing car driver who finished 4th in this year's Indianapolis 500, moving up to compete in Formula One on the grounds that her figure could distract male pit mechanics. He told men's magazine FHM, "Danica is very quick, but in F1 cars, I can't see it happening due to the G-force in fast corners And 1 week of the month, you wouldn't want to be on the circuit with them, would you? A girl with big boobs would never be comfortable in the car and the mechanics wouldn't concentrate. Can you imagine strapping her in? Yeah, imagine having to do that, boy. Button's comments come as a new generation of female drivers is starting to break into the world where women have traditionally been confined to the role of brolly dollies, dressed in short skirts, as they shield the drivers from the sun. Jodie Kidd, the supermodel, has swapped the catwalk for the racetrack and now competes professionally. Miss Kidd, who is known as the Queen of Rain for her ability to drive at speed in poor conditions, won her first race in Italy last November. Catherine Legg will next month begin tests to join the Minardi F1 team, and the Irish driver Sarah Kavanagh was offered a place with the Jaguar F1 team in 2004, although the deal collapsed over contractual issues. Yesterday, Kavanagh said that Button made a valid point about the size of women's breasts affecting their ability to fit in the car, but that the rest of his statement was ridiculous. She said, "You couldn't get in the car if you had really big breasts, but the rest of what he's saying is just nonsense." It's like Formula One is stuck in some sexist 1970s Playboy vibe. The idea that we can't compete because of our menstrual cycle. Come on, it's ancient nonsense. We have women flying F-16s and going to war. Why can't we race a Formula One car? Last night, Emma Parker Bowles, who writes a motoring column for Tatler magazine, also hit back at Button, who is yet to win a Grand Prix. Remember, this is 2005. She said, "Oh, grow up. If he spent less time staring at grid girls' breasts, he might win more races. There's no reason girls can't succeed in F1. Absolutely take that and get wrecked." I couldn't possibly leave you on that note. You might have heard recently these horrific headlines about what happened to the W Series, which was the all-female racing series. It was meant to be a feeder series into other formulas and supporting, showcasing female motorsport talent. It had its critics, no question, all making valid points. But for what it was worth, it was supposed to promote women into motorsport. It got into, as I understand, a lot of financial problems, and it's basically gone away. But the good news is that it's sort of been replaced by something that's maybe better, called F1 Academy. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in what you can do about some of this stuff that I've been talking about, is start looking at Formula One Academy. But related to that, there's been other good news stories lately. So here's one of them. Jessica Hawkins becomes first female F1 test driver in 5 years. 28-year-old drives 26 laps of Hungaroring for Aston Martin. Getting to drive the AMR 21 has been a dream come true for me, she said. The Aston Martin Formula One team have confirmed that their driver, ambassador Jessica Hawkins, completed a test for them last week, becoming the first woman to drive a modern F1 car in almost 5 years. The 28-year-old drove 26 laps of the Hungaroring in Budapest. Hawkins is a former British karting champion, a podium scorer in the W Series, RIP, and has worked as a stunt driver on a James Bond film. Sounds pretty fucking badass. Hawkins prepared for the tests on the Aston Martin simulator, and the team's evolution program director, Robert Sattler, said that she excelled in her run at the Hungaroring. The all-female W Series folded after 3 seasons in 2022 due to a lack of financial backing, but the F1 Academy, formed and backed by the sport's owners, has declared its target of building a long-term route through the feeder series to bring a woman into F1. However, the Academy's managing director, Susie Wolff, who you might have noticed has come up a whole bunch during my discussion of this, she warned that it could take as long as a decade to bring a female driver into Formula One. Next year, the series will join the Formula One calendar as a support race. So if you haven't heard of Formula Academy before, the idea is all 10 of the Formula One teams will run a car in that series. It will be the Ferrari car, the Mercedes car, the Red Bull car. It'll have the same livery and all female drivers. And the idea is, again, it showcases female motorsport talent. Probably good things, probably bad things to say about that. Number one being, if you've been paying attention, there's this very clear divide. Formula One especially, but motorsport more broadly, is for the guys. So the critics of all female motorsport categories have said, thanks so much for giving us our own category, but it feels a whole lot like you want to pigeonhole us, put us into this box, and that makes it easier to ignore, while also continuing the entrenched mentality that stops us from getting into Formula One in the first place. And you might think, I read out all those stories. Some of them are from a few years ago, some of them are from this year, some of them are from a decade ago, some of them are from 20 years ago. Why do that? I did that because of that point that Susie Wolff ended on there, saying getting a female into Formula One is still 10 years away. So why is that? It's because of the funnel. It's not because of the funnel. It's because of all the sexist attitudes that everybody has. And that's something that we can address right now. And when she says it'll take 10 years to get a woman into Formula One, it's not because they're not good enough. It's because it's going to take at least that long to address the disadvantage that women have as a result of all the sexist men that are in power. So when we have conversations of that nature now, that's why. When we're trying to push for improvements now, that's why. Because it's going to take a long time. There's a lot of ground to be made up.